This is Action Recaps. Today, I'm going to explain a comedy, romance, sci-fi film called Time Freak. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. Everything seems to be going well with Stillman, a brilliant physics student, and his girlfriend, Debbie. The couple seems to be happy and affectionate toward each other in their pictures. But one day, Debbie sends Stillman an ominous text asking him to meet her at a restaurant to talk. When they meet, Debbie breaks up with Stillman because she's not happy with him anymore. Stillman can't come up with anything to say to Debbie, so she tells him he can call her anytime. Debbie leaves the restaurant, but she ends up back in her seat and returns to the moment she told Stillman that they're breaking up. Stillman tries to persuade her not to break up with him by noting that she's his favorite person. He contends that they're meant to be together even though they're so different. However, Debbie tells him that she still thinks that they should break up. Stillman then takes out his phone and uses it to set his time machine to return 3 minutes in the past. He says something different to persuade Debbie to stay with him, but Debbie doesn't change her mind. Stillman keeps going back in time to find other ways to save their relationship, but Debbie always turns him down. Stillman eventually lets Debbie leave, but he tells himself that he's not giving up. A week later, Stillman asks his friend Evan to help him get back with Debbie. He shows Evan a chart about important events of their relationship to find out what went wrong. Stillman then scrolls to the beginning of the chart and recounts the first day he met Debbie. That day, Debbie's co-workers at the bar were having a going-away party for her, so Evan convinced Stillman to talk to her and say goodbye. Stillman gained the courage to approach Debbie and ask where she's moving, but Debbie noted that she was not leaving town. She got fired from the bar because she was doing a terrible job. Debbie then disclosed that she is an aspiring musician, but she isn't planning on being successful. Her only plan is to do things she loves because she thinks no one can control their careers. Stillman pretended to agree because he didn't want to argue with her. Soon, Debbie's friend, Ryan, interrupted the conversation, so Stillman decided to leave the bar. As Evan and Stillman were preparing to go home, Stillman noticed that Evan was too high to drive, so he decided to find someone else to give him a ride. Debbie noticed that Stillman had left his notebook behind, so she went after him. When Debbie called out to Stillman, Evan got distracted and accidentally hit Stillman when he reversed the car. Stillman didn't suffer from any severe injury, but the accident triggered his mind to come up with a theorem for a time machine. Evan took his notebook from Debbie to write down his idea. Debbie remarked that Stillman's notes look fascinating even though she doesn't know what they are. After recounting their meeting, Stillman notes that he marked his chart with red dots to indicate his bad moments with Debbie. He surmises that those moments were the reason they broke up. In one of those moments, Debbie started flirting with Stillman while he was taking notes about his theorem. When Stillman told Debbie that he loved her, Debbie took her ukulele and sang him a song. Stillman, however, was disappointed that the song didn't mention how much she loved him. Debbie contended that she loved Stillman, but she wanted to wait for a special moment before saying it because she said it numerous times to other men. In another moment marked with a red dot, Stillman showed his favorite movie, Feral on 5, to Evan, Debbie, and her friends, but they all hated it. When the group ridiculed the movie, Stillman got upset and made a derogatory remark that offended Debbie. Though it was not Stillman's finest moment, Evan doubts it had something to do with their breakup. When Evan asks what Stillman intends to do, Stillman unveils his time machine. Evan dissuades Stillman from using the machine and advises him to move on, but Stillman argues that he won't meet anyone like Debbie again. Evan is doubtful that the machine would work, but he agrees to help when Stillman tells him that it's his only way to fix things with Debbie. Soon, Stillman and Evan travel back to the day he meets Debbie. When they feel a sudden stinging pain on the bridge of their nose, Stillman reveals that it's a side effect of having their consciousness thrown into another state. Stillman explains that he'll know if he has fixed his relationship with Debbie when her text message inviting him to talk at the restaurant disappears. He then notes that they went back to the day he met Debbie because it's the starting point of their journey through time. Not long, Stillman and Evan travel to the moment they watched Feral on 5. After the movie ends, Stillman tries to keep himself calm when the group starts ridiculing the movie. However, Debbie's friend remarks on Stillman's odd taste in movies, so he retaliates by implying that she's stupid. Stillman and Evan go back in time repeatedly as Stillman fails to react appropriately when Debbie's friends make fun of the movie. Finally, Evan advises Stillman to treat the group to pizza to make him look confident and calm despite what they say. Soon after following Evan's advice, Stillman notes that he's satisfied with how it turned out even though Debbie's text did not disappear. When Stillman informs Evan that they have 2 minutes till their next time jump, Evan quickly leaves a note to motivate himself to study hard instead of spending most of his time getting high. In their next stop, Evan finds himself getting in an elevator on his way to a party. Stillman and Debbie are behind him, but they can't go in because the lift is already full. Stillman and Debbie decide to take the stairs, but they end up on the roof instead of the party. The door closes behind them and locks them out, so Debbie gets disconcerted because she has a fear of being confined. Stillman pacifies her by picking the lock with ease. Impressed by his skills, Debbie locks the door and asks him to do it again. Stillman decides to revisit the moment over and over because he thinks it is perfect. However, Evan is traumatized from repeating the exact moment in the elevator. When Evan discovers what Stillman is doing, he runs to the roof to scold him for repeating a moment that doesn't need fixing. Evan warns Stillman that he needs to prepare himself for the other awful moments he needs to fix. Stillman soon revisits the moment when Debbie sang him a song. Before Debbie could play the song, Stillman tells her that he already knows she loves him and she doesn't have to say it. Debbie gets a bit upset at him for bringing it up, so Stillman tries to go back in time, but the phone app for controlling the time machine freezes. Not long, Evan arrives because he's locked out of his own house. Stillman asks Evan to leave, but Debbie decides to invite him in. While they are all relaxing in the living room, Evan suddenly remarks that Stillman and Debbie will have beautiful children. Debbie notes that she doesn't want to have children until she's done everything she wants to do. Stillman eventually fixes the app for the time machine. When Debbie asks what he was working on, Stillman tells her the truth because he's confident that Debbie wouldn't believe him and she wouldn't remember when he goes back in time. Stillman discloses that he's using the time machine to avoid an argument with her, but Debbie notes they didn't have a real fight. Debbie convinces Stillman to stay with her in the imperfect moment, so Stillman decides to let the moment pass without fixing anything. On the next jump, Stillman and Evan end up in the bar while Debbie performs a song. During the performance, Evan tries to pick up a girl wearing blue ribbons, but she's not interested. After the song, the bar owner offers Debbie to perform each week, but she declines because she's not ready to sing full time. Stillman listens to Debbie as she discloses her reasons, but he remains silent to avoid saying anything wrong. Before Stillman can set the next time jump, Evan convinces him to help him win the Ultimate Frisbee Championship the next day. During the game, Stillman uses the machine to repeat the moment until Evan's team wins. Later, Evan approaches the girl with the blue ribbon to ask her out on a date. When he messes up his pickup line, he signals Stillman to repeat the moment. However, Stillman couldn't jump back in time because the app had crashed. Stillman has no choice but to spend time with Debbie because of the broken app. When Debbie gets a call from Ryan, Stillman confesses that he's jealous of him, believing that he wants to hook up with her. Debbie, however, reminds him that Ryan is gay. She discloses that she and Ryan share a deep bond because he helped her out during the worst times of her life. Debbie notes that Ryan invited them to a summer camp, so she asks Stillman to do his best to have fun and avoid making it weird. Not long, the time machine app restarts, but Stillman learns that it can no longer go backward in time. Later, Stillman meets with Evan to express his concern about going to the summer camp party because he only has one shot at fixing the situation. When they jump, Evan finds himself in an unfamiliar apartment, so he immediately contacts Stillman, who ended up at the summer camp. Stillman explains that Evan must be experiencing new events because of the changes he's made. Evan sees the blue ribbons girl entering the room. He surmises that they could be dating, but he still doesn't know her name. After ending the call, Stillman looks around at the wild party and remembers how he berated Debbie for allowing other men to touch her while she's dancing. Back at the apartment, Evan realizes that he's helping Blue Ribbons girl move into her new apartment after she asks him if he could lift the couch on his own. Later, Stillman invites Debbie to dance to show her that he's having fun. Not long, Stillman ends up dancing on his own while Debbie dances between two men. However, Debbie breaks away from the two men to dance with Stillman. Due to Stillman's efforts to overcome his jealousy, he and Debbie end the night without arguing. In the morning, Stillman rejoices when he finds out that Debbie's text has disappeared. Stillman contacts Evan to tell him that they're going back to their time because he has already fixed his relationship. Upon their return, they discover that the time machine has disappeared. Stillman notes the machine is gone because he never felt the need to build it since he didn't break up with Debbie. Stillman soon calls Debbie and tells her that he'll be coming over. Debbie and Stillman make love when he gets to her apartment. Afterward, Stillman tells Debbie that he's planning to have dinner at the Maddox house on his birthday. That day, Debbie arrives at the restaurant an hour late. Stillman can't hide his disappointment because they lost the table he reserved. The couple ends up celebrating Stillman's birthday at a restaurant that serves nothing but waffles. Debbie tries to cheer him up, but Stillman can't even crack a smile. The next day, Stillman tells Evan that he feels bad because he got mad at Debbie. Evan consoles him by pointing out that he managed to get her back. He advises Stillman not to obsess over the awful night and notes that fights happen all the time between couples. That night, Stillman apologizes to Debbie for getting angry. Debbie apologizes too but tells him they have a few things to talk about. Stillman goes to his garage later to start working on the time machine again. Stillman and Debbie end up getting married after 2 years. During dinner with Evan and their friends, Debbie realizes that she left the salmon in the oven for too long. Ryan offers to help them cook another meal, but Stillman gets exasperated and heads to his lab, where he keeps his new time machine. After going back a few minutes in time, he sticks a timer on the oven door to keep Debbie from forgetting about the salmon. Later that night, Stillman and Debbie discuss her new career as a singer. Debbie is supposed to record her first album, but she's unsure if she still wants to pursue it. Debbie notes that music was once a big part of her life, but she no longer feels the same way. The following night, Debbie asks Stillman if he finds it strange that they never fight or disagree on anything. Stillman contends that they're better off if they don't fight, so Debbie surmises that there's something wrong with her. The next day, Stillman meets with Evan to express his concern about the changes in Debbie's personality. He then confesses that he built another time machine, and he uses it to keep her happy. Stillman worries that his constant use of the time machine affects Debbie because she hardly laughs or plays music. He decides to destroy the machine, but Evan tells him to focus on fixing their relationship instead. Later on, Debbie hints that she could be happy if she had a baby. Stillman reminds Debbie that she planned on having kids only after establishing a music career and traveling the world. Debbie, however, notes that she can accomplish her plans out of order. She surmises that growing their family would provide the vigor that's been missing in their relationship. After Debbie falls asleep, Evan stops by to convince Stillman not to destroy the machine. He then confesses that he has been sneaking up behind Stillman to use the time machine so he can give advice to people. Despite Evan's pleas, Stillman decides to destroy the machine because he realizes they're both hooked. He locks Evan out of the house, but Debbie gets up and lets him in. Stillman tries to run past Evan to get to the basement, but Evan catches him. Evan soon realizes that Stillman wants to go back in time to alter the events that led to the invention of the time machine. Evan tries to convince him to destroy the machine they have now and move on with their lives, but Stillman argues that his addiction could compel him to build another one because he still knows the theorem. He notes that he has to go back to when Evan accidentally hit him with his car so he wouldn't learn about the theorem. Soon, Debbie arrives in the basement and discovers them fighting over the time machine. Stillman confesses that he's been using it to fix their relationship. This leads Debbie to conclude that the time machine is the reason they don't fight. She also blames it for her lack of interest in her music career. Debbie notes that the machine is a horrific invention, so Stillman tells her that he's going back to the day they met so he couldn't invent it. As Stillman prepares to go back in time, Evan suddenly jumps in with him. Upon their arrival, Evan chases Stillman on the streets to hit him with the car. When they end up on an open stage, Stillman stops running and asks Evan to go ahead and hit him. However, Stillman evades the vehicle by getting on top of it as the car accelerates. The car gets stuck when it goes off the stage, so Evan gives up on trying to hit him. Not long, Stillman tells Evan that his memory of the theorem is gone. He further notes he didn't hook up his phone to the machine so that they couldn't go back to their time. Stillman soon sees Debbie looking for him to return his notebook. After taking his notebook back, Stillman kisses Debbie and says goodbye. As Debbie tries to make sense of the sudden kiss, she experiences a stinging pain on the bridge of her nose. Debbie suddenly yells at Stillman and tells him to come back. Stillman realizes that Debbie also went into the time machine to follow them. Debbie berates Stillman for trying to control her life and tells him to stop making decisions for her. Stillman promises that it won't happen again because he no longer has the time machine. Stillman explains that he made a mistake using the machine because he now realizes that people have no control over anything. After apologizing, he tries to leave, but Debbie pulls him back to hint that she still wants to be with him. Stillman then remarks that they just had quite a fight. In response, Debbie asks him if he wants to do it again.